It's the SeizeYourBusiness.com podcast with Tony Rourke and Kevin O'Flaherty.
SeizeYourBusiness.com, making you money. Share it on Facebook, share it on LinkedIn, Twitter, our blogs, YouTube videos. Listen to our podcast, getting so hot that it's burning up the stereo.
Welcome to the SeizeYourBusiness.com podcast and videocast. I'm your host, Kevin O'Flaherty from O'Flaherty Law, joined by Scott Mathis from Plateau to Peak Consulting. Our guest today is Mary Jensen from High Life LLC, and she's just gotten started in the networking world and the sales world, and she's going to talk a little bit today about what that experience has been like for her. So, Mary, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Scott.
Why don't you start out by talking about what High Life is and what you do and what your experience has been so far?
Okay, well, just to start from the very beginning, I am a clinical registered dental hygienist, and I've been a dental hygienist for over 30 years. And last fall, I came in contact with a hygienist at a dental hygiene meeting who was working for High Life. And this was something completely different, completely out of the box that hygienists could do. And it's sort of a combination of hygiene for life. And basically, it was founded by Angie Stone. She is a hygienist up in the Madison, Wisconsin area. And by circumstances in her life, with her mother-in-law and with her grandmother, once they were in an assisted living community, their oral care and their teeth just went downhill because nobody was taking care of them. There's just so many other things that the CNAs have to do.
Before we get too far, quick question. Can you explain to us that don't know, what is clinical? What does that mean as versus non-clinical or?
Great question. Thank you. And please, if I go into dental speak, just kind of stop me. A clinical dental hygienist is someone who works in a dental office and cleans the teeth. We do oral cancer screenings. We take the x-rays. We perform the cleaning, the fluoride, the sealants. So that's what I did full time.
So when you say that, you mean with inside of a dental office
inside
and
a dental
nothing
office,
else. And this new thing you're doing is really outside of a dental office.
Outside of a dental office. Still using the everything that I've gained in all the years of being a dental hygienist, but it's basically providing weekly brushing and between the teeth cleaning to seniors, to elders, dependent seniors and elders who live in assisted living or long-term care communities that can't do it themselves anymore. And the reason why it's so important, and the one takeaway, I would say, to take away from everything that's discussed today, is to remember that the mouth is connected to the rest of the body. And if you have a senior, if you have an elder who already has maybe some complicated issues with their health, perhaps they're diabetic, perhaps there's some heart disease, and then you compound that with an infection in their mouth, you're just asking for trouble. So by keeping things clean by these weekly visits, that's the total goal, is for hygienists to go in and work with these individuals to help maintain their overall health by maintaining their oral health.
Sure.
So. Okay. Go ahead, Scott.
Is this done a lot? Is it a regular thing? Is it a new thing? How does it fit in the world of care for the elderly or in general?
Generally speaking, it should be done on a daily basis in any long-term care or assisted living community. But CNAs, through no fault of their own, get very little training. Even nurses get very little training on mouth care.
Sure.
This is what dental hygienists do. We know how to go in and brush and floss thoroughly somebody's mouth, or to clean their denture, or to clean their partial. So it is definitely part of an activity of daily living that if the person needed assistance with, the CNA should be assisting. But as you can imagine,
Can you tell me, for anybody that may not know, what's a CNA?
A certified nurse's assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't have time. They don't have time. They are just swamped. They might have 8 patients that they're trying to take care of, and it just comes down to it's last on the list. And it's not in their area of expertise either.
Right.
It's in the area of expertise for dental hygienists. And there's dental hygienists that want to do this.
As a CNA, do they get any training on teeth in general, or is it just one of those, these are teeth and they move on kind of
That's a great question. And prior to going out with High Life, I took the certification for being a caregiver.
Okay.
And within that course, maybe 1 page out of 60
Right.
was on dental. And they're not shown how to actually do this, how to actually do the mouth care. And again, I'm by no means do I mean to be critical of CNAs.
No,
I think
yeah.
they're angels, all of them. But it's better suited into the profession of dental hygiene.
And you can't
better.
see the teeth as much. I mean, you can see a knee if it's got a bruise or a scrape.
Well,
or
interesting that you should say that, because it's points off in many of these communities if a male patient isn't shaved, because that's an activity of daily living.
What if they want a beard?
Well, that's up to them.
Okay.
My point being is that everybody would know right away that you didn't do that today.
Right.
Nobody knows that you didn't do the mouth care.
Right.
It's not. There's no outward sign of it. So, yeah.
So, it being a newer or less used thing as a secondary kind of idea, how does insurance play into that?
It's private pay.
Okay.
So, what the hygienist the procedure would be, the hygienist would meet with the individual, meet with the client, kind of just assess the overall situation. And usually there might be a family member there, because they could be the guardian or the power of attorney. And you basically do an intake sheet.
Mm-hmm.
There's a waiver that is signed, and then the payment is set up directly from the client to High Life, and it's all said and done. And then there's between the High Life oral care specialists, we set up a time that works best for both the client and me to do the once a week visit.
So if they had dental insurance, would it cover any, or is it just
no? It's
strictly
completely private pay, right? And along with the brushing and flossing, I'll just touch a little bit about what else is incorporated, and that is using xylitol products. Now you're thinking, what's xylitol? Go ahead and ask Kevin.
What is xylitol?
Is that the thing they in the band where they?
No, that's xylitol. Right? It's a naturally occurring sugar substitute. It's actually found. It's made from corn cob, not corn, but the corn cob. It's not an artificial sweetener, but by using it multiple times a day, either in a mint or a gum, it reduces the bacteria, the biofilm, the plaque, whatever word you want to give it, that coats the teeth, that causes the gums to be inflamed, and then it goes on from there. So part of the High Life philosophy, part of the whole procedure, is that we supply the mints or the gum, whatever the client might choose, the toothpaste, the brush, we supply everything. And we put them on a schedule. They could take the mints breakfast, lunch, and dinner, while they're getting dressed in the morning, after lunch, while they're getting dressed at night, 3 times a day. And there's clinical studies that prove that it will reduce the bacteria on the teeth. The number one reason that seniors are hospitalized is aspiration pneumonia, meaning that something has been aspirated or gone into their lungs that has set up an infection. And where do you think that bacteria comes from?
Your teeth?
Their teeth. Right. If they have not had their teeth brushed, say, for example, in a week, maybe even longer, that bacteria is going to build up, and it can set up just a whole host of different problems for the individual, unfortunately. But by keeping it cleaner, by keeping the mouth cleaner, using the xylitol products, you're setting the stage for just a much healthier individual.
And you touched on that. So if they have no teeth and they have dentures, you can help. It's still the same situation.
It can still build up on the dentures. The dentures need to be cleaned, and we can certainly go in and do that weekly as well. Yes. Yeah.
So you've gone from a situation where you're going into work every day and just being a practicing hygienist to now you have your own book of business that you've got to build.
Right.
We talk a lot about networking strategies on the show, and you'd be a good case study for someone who's just learning about the process and getting into that.
Yeah.
What's that been like for you?
Well, the first thing I did was I found a really good attorney. His name is Kevin O'Flaherty, and he set me straight. No, he said you need somebody that's going to help you with your money, somebody who's going to help you, guide your business, and obviously a good attorney. So I have found those pieces to kind of fit everything together, and networking, which is just, I just can't even believe how many different people that I have met, and speaking engagements that I've had, and different people I've gone, just to visit and talk to and emailed, and it's out there. It's just, we're sort of High Life is just one step ahead of the curve. We're just a little bit ahead of what the public is aware of. But I think once
do you find that an obstacle or positive?
I find it a positive challenge. Yeah. I really do, because I know the service that I will be providing will be so beneficial. That's the purpose. That's the purpose that you get up, and that's what drives you to do it. Is that it will help people. It's just finding the way to get into the situations where you're going to get those referrals. Mm-hmm. High Life provides an in-house continuing ed for CNAs in any assisted living, wherever we could do that. And also there's a whole continuing ed course that I can do at dental offices to let them know what's going on in this area. And perhaps the dentist might have patients that, hey, they used to come in all the time, but now they're living at such and such community. Sure. I wonder what's happened to George or Ed. And sure enough, we could go and make weekly visits and just get the teeth as clean as possible in that time.
What's the footprint or radius that you work in? Is it just Illinois, Chicago, Downers Grove?
I would say the suburbs of Chicago. Okay. I mean, I will go anywhere. I will meet with anyone just to talk about it, to give them information about it. There is one other oral care specialist here in Illinois. She's actually in Elmhurst, but I don't think we'll have turf wars or anything.
So you would go into Chicago though too?
Sure, yeah. There are 10 oral care specialists in the Midwest. So and we have great camaraderie. We have monthly meetings that we do conversations all the time with Angie Stone, who's the founder. Angie has recently had a book published, Dying from Dirty Teeth. Does that grab you?
Sounds like a morbid read.
Well, but it's sad but true. It's sad but true that there's so much more that can be done for seniors, that they're a neglected group. Sure. And there's hygienists out there that want to go in and do this.
So as it relates to networking, if anybody's out there listening, what is there a decision maker or a person that you would want to be the best person to talk to, or is it?
If anybody is listening out there, and
we hope they are,
yes, and of anybody who could benefit from this service, excuse me, maybe an aunt or an uncle or a parent, just refer them to me, and we'll take it from there. We can meet and we can discuss the services and the importance of it, and just go from there.
Would you only do once a week or twice a week, or do you fluctuate with as often as they?
The program is once a week. Okay. Now, surely if somebody had a request that they really wanted me to see dad or mom, twice a week, I would of course.
What about less? What about twice a month?
Yes.
So you'll work around.
Well, we can prorate it. It can be prorated.
Okay.
So for Scott and I, who have been networking for years, we kind of forget what it's like not to know about this whole little subculture. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like if you wanted to get into cosplay and you've never been into cosplay, you wouldn't know. You don't just show up to a cosplay convention and know what the heck is going on there. Right. What was it like for you the first, take me from like day one where you first realized, oh, okay, now I've got to go build referral sources and meet people. And what was it like for you learning about the whole subculture of networking?
Well, Kevin, you invited me to one of your networking morning groups. Mm-hmm. And at that networking morning group, I met Doreen Petty.
She's been a previous guest on the program.
I know. And great business coach. And then you kind of started up our other group, our senior resource group. And within that group, I've met people who have known other people. The Naperville Senior Center, I did a presentation there. And I just get names from different people. And it seems like every week there's another event or something else that I'm going to. I met somebody at the Birches that I went to an event there last week that I'm going to be meeting with next week. So it's real interesting. It's interesting all the different, how the web just sort of starts to spread out,
Now, do you have a system yet for how you're networking? Or are you just basically saying yes to things that you're getting invited to?
Pretty much. Yeah. Okay. Right now, I have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
You find that takes up all your time?
I am in a position where I still temp as a dental hygienist. Okay. And so my schedule is incredibly flexible. So between high life clients and temping, I can kind of fit in how I can do other things, such as, today doing, the taping for this.
So far in your networking endeavors, what's the most interesting thing that you found that may or may not have been what you expected, or?
Oh, that's a really good question. There are a lot of people that work with seniors and in a variety of different capacities, whether it's helping them move or helping them with their finances or just everything with seniors. And I think this is another component that people will become aware of as well.
Something that struck me was, you said, you met with me to talk about incorporation, and
Mm-hmm.
you got involved in some of the groups I'm in. And that kind of happened to me when I started, where I was a lawyer. I wasn't thinking about networking. I was just going to, just practice law. And I had a friend of mine from high school who was a financial advisor. Now he's going to dental school, actually, speaking of dentistry. Call me up and say, listen, Kevin, I want to have lunch. I want to talk about ways we can help our businesses grow.
Right.
And he just kind of talked about some things that he was doing to go out and meet people. And I just had a light bulb moment where it was like, well, you know what? His business isn't all that different from mine. It's not all that different from yours, Mary.
Sure.
It's all about, opening that funnel of referrals and bringing people in.
Right.
And if you're just getting started networking, if you can meet one or two people that are well networked that can kind of show you the ropes and introduce you to their network, you can do what you're doing, and it just kind of snowballs. Where
It does.
You don't
it
really
has
have
snowballed. It has snowballed.
You don't have to seek stuff out so much as just say yes and go along with
Right.
with the things that you're invited to and the people that you meet. But I mean, you're on the fast track though, because you're already doing 6 months in, you're doing a bunch of speaking engagements, and that's usually when I talk to my business development people that I'm trying to train to do this sort of thing, that's like phase 2 or 3 after getting involved in groups and just meeting people. So
I think I get a little bit, depending on who I'm speaking to, I get more of a questioning or more of a response back. The people who are in healthcare, they get this.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if maybe you don't get the whole body mouth connection, you might be, what's that about?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Don't really understand what that's about. But when I talk to nurses or when I talk to assisted living, communities, when I talk to people who are in charge there, they get it. But now it's just finding, well, how can I get this information to the clients that are here?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just keep working at it. Just keep working at follow-up emails, dropping off more information.
Tell me about your follow-up process. So when you sit down and meet somebody, what is the follow-up process?
Yeah. Well, I'll try and see who I can contact via email. And then I'll go in person and I'll drop some things off. Now, many times they say, well, they might be busy or, it's not a good time. It's all right. I leave the information and we kind of go from there.
Sure.
And then about 2 weeks later, I'll follow up with that. I've just recently sent out, just in Winfield where I live, I've stopped by the local dental offices. Here's my information. Here's the course I can do for your office, a continuing ed course. And just, let them know that I'm right here. I can come over and hopefully garner some referrals that way. That's my goal.
This reminds me of the episode we did with Troy Golden. He was a commercial broker, and he said when he was getting started, he just took his territory that he was covering and walked door to door among, made a list of everyone that might potentially need his services, all the commercial tenants that he could represent, and just made a database and started working through his database and knocking on doors and talking to those people.
Right.
And he still does that. He started doing that 4 years ago, and he still goes through his door-to-door, walking through buildings, finding people that might need his services.
Yeah. I think it's great when you have a one-on-one with somebody. I'll be meeting somebody next week, and it's nice to have a one-on-one so you can kind of explain everything just in a little bit more detail.
Do you have trouble getting those one-on-ones with decision makers, or?
That's probably the most difficult. And then they have to take it to the next level. So, but it's to me, it's just I have, like I said, I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So I just keep going forward. This is something that I'd like to be doing 10 years from now. And I really believe that hopefully not in 5 years, hopefully it's less than that dental hygienists will be doing this in assisted living communities, long-term care communities, hospitals. Let's find a way to keep the mouth healthy in order to keep the body healthy. You'll see it. As healthcare, as we know, it gets more and more expensive. We can find ways to keep people from being admitted for things. The body, mouth is connected. Let's find a way to do it.
Are there strategies you're following right now that you need to change or do better, or do you have kind of goals about, what's the next level for you as far as building your client base?
Sure. I have goals. I'll look out, okay, by the end of June, this is kind of what I wanted to have done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take a look at that in June. And that's one thing with the High Life group, with this sort of, we're all mentoring each other. Angie Stone, again, the founder, she has a business coach, and he's guiding her. And so we'll evaluate everything in June, and we'll see, well, what's worked and what hasn't worked and what's worked for you and why did it work? And see, do we need to tweak something, adjust something, and we kind of go from there.
How are you tracking what's working and what's not?
Just right now, just basically pen and paper.
Okay.
I have a folder, and I'm really good with things being lined up, and then I take it out and I take a look at it and check things off, and who did I talk to and when did I send that email? I'm more of a visual type person, pen and paper person. But I realize that as hopefully when I get busier and busier, that I'll find a program for that. And I've had some people give suggestions for that kind of thing.
Yeah, CRM program.
Yeah, Jax Works, and there's all kinds of templates you can use to punch all that in. But for right now, that's kind of what I'm doing.
So what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about the networking world and strategies that work or don't, or just building a client base from the ground up in the past 6 months?
I think that I thought it would be things would move quicker and that people would respond faster, because again, I came from working in a dental office and 7 to 5:30 and an hour per patient, and this was my world. And now I can send out so many different things. It's like, well, who's responded? I have to kind of tamp that down just a little bit, and people are busy, and maybe it won't be the first or the second, but maybe it'll be that third time that I get in contact with them that I'll get that response that I'm looking for.
Sure.
So.
Well, and there's two types of networking. There's the business to client, which seems like a lot of what you're doing, and then there's business to business where you're trying to get referral sources from other businesses. And the turnaround, you can chase clients all over the place. It's never a good time for them to talk. Sure. And the business to business end is all about just building a relationship, and both take a lot of time. The relationship building, someone's not going to refer you all their business, maybe even the first 3 times you touch them. That's why I like to get people involved in groups that I'm in, so I see them all the time. The business to client end, you just have to have a really wide funnel. You have to always be adding people to your funnel, and a really solid follow-up system that you stick to, so that if I've talked to people that are more in hardcore sales industries like, insurance than I am, that say, I know for every 100 people I call and stick into my system, 10 will close. So it's just a matter of putting people into the top of the funnel and following your process.
Yeah. And I think reaching out to other people that maybe you didn't think of at first, neighbors, other groups that you might be in, not, just, church groups or whatever, just reaching out to everybody that let them know this is what I'm doing now, as opposed to what you thought I was doing. I'm doing something completely different. And maybe they have a relative or a friend or know somebody in their world that could benefit.
Sure. One of the best things we did when we started was we sent out a Christmas card. Luckily, we launched in March, but I knew I was starting it, in December. So we sent out a Christmas card saying, Merry Christmas. Just so you know, coming in March, you're going to be a Flaherty Law. And we had a lot of people that, it just announced to the world, everyone we knew. We took basically our wedding list and sent Christmas cards out to it. Yeah. And
did you get a registry or gifts?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was effective. So just you start with friends and family and kind of work out from there. Yeah. But I can tell already that it's looking like, in the near future, you're probably going to have to systematize a little bit what you're doing. But just getting out there, is the first step, and just meeting so many people that you need a system.
Right. And you learn by doing, and you learn by necessity, I think, too. So once the next step becomes necessary, it's an ongoing process. And I don't necessarily think there's right or wrong. There could be, maybe, well, that's better for one person or that's better for somebody else. But it's just, I think, just keeping, moving forward.
What's the number one thing you're doing right now that you're proud of from a networking perspective? Like the number one thing that you think is going to lead to unique success for you?
I think right now the main thing that I'm trying to do, because I've done it, like I said, with the Winfield dentist, I'd like to broaden that circle a little bit and get my information out to, say, the Wheaton dentist and kind of take it a little bit farther. Because it's my hope that I'll get referrals back from them from some of their patients.
Yeah.
They're aware of what's going on. They're aware that in assisted living communities that maybe the home care, the oral care isn't what it should be, and that their patients would benefit having somebody go in and take care of that for them. So.
You have to strike a balance between spending you've got a finite amount of time in your day, and you've got to strike a balance between going out and hunting. They call it finding new people to plug into your funnel, and the gathering, which is paying attention to those Winfield dentists that you've already touched and strengthening those relationships. Right. Have you found it difficult to strike that balance, or is everything fresh enough that it's all hunting at this point?
Everything's definitely fresh enough, and I think long term, ideally. What I would like would be, one or two communities that I'm working with, a couple of days a week, where I go in and I see multiple residents, on a weekly basis, 10 people a day, 12 people a day, and then come back the following week and see those same people to somehow kind of get through into that where that's what I'll be doing. And it could be, this facility on this day, this facility on this, could be. But that's really what I'm looking for. But you have to find the one or two that are there in order to kind of get in. So it'll happen.
So if someone has a family member that could use your help, or if they could use your help, how can they reach you?
They can call me, and my cell number is 630-877-3151, or they can email me at maryjensenrdh@gmail.com.
And you brought some Xylotex, you said?
Yeah, xylitol is the name is the name of the ingredient that's in these gum mints that I have brought for you gentlemen today. And again, that's just part of the High Life protocol, is that we incorporate using the xylitol products.
Try one if
for the senior to help keep the plaque buildup down. So feel free to give it a try. Yeah, great. Or they can also look on the website, highlifellc.com. So.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here, Mary.
Great.
Thank you
very
much,
so much,
gentlemen. I appreciate it.